And where are they stored? Are they stored on site?
So for 6 months, they're stored here on site, and then they eventually go to a long-term storage facility.
In Hoboken?
In Boston.
Okay. I just assume Hoboken, because that's where people have a lot of storage facilities when they live in the city. Egg freezing has become an increasingly popular option for people who don't want to have kids immediately but might down the road. Traditionally, it's cost between $10,000 and $15,000, but now one company is trying to drive that price down to more like $5,000. Actually, the price they advertise is $4,990, but it sounds like they're selling a used car, so I'm going to say $5,000. Hello.
Hi.
This is Extend Fertility.
Extend Fertility is exclusively an egg freezing company. We focus solely on women wanting to preserve their fertility. We're the first company in the nation that provides that service.
It's a model for ultra-specialized medical care that's meant to improve outcomes while decreasing costs. How did you decide you were going to do only egg freezing?
When I was working for a large academically affiliated traditional infertility clinic, I was seeing an increasing number of women coming in to talk to me about egg freezing. And it was an uncomfortable environment for them, sitting in a waiting room full of infertility patients, usually couples who were sad and desperate to have a child, and that just wasn't, their story. And then secondly, it was too expensive. So I can't do it.
$15,000.
Correct. And women either came to me, talked to me about it, sometimes had multiple appointments, and then ultimately weren't able to find a way to do it, or did it but were stressed out from start to finish as far as they knew they only had one shot to be able to get eggs to freeze.
Sounds awful. By doing only one thing all day, every day, Extend hopes to improve the freezing process. But it still involves more than just showing up one day for a procedure. So I've decided to have my eggs frozen, and
You're ready to move forward.
what happens?
Okay, so you're gonna come in on your first day, you're gonna have blood work and ultrasound, you're gonna do that approximately 5 to 7 times, you're gonna start taking some injections.
Those injections are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which the body normally produces, just in smaller doses. Do that for 8 to 12 days, and that causes the ovarian follicles to enlarge. The medical team does an ultrasound every 2 days, so you can watch the follicles grow.
In this image, this is an ovary, this outline over here, and you have 1, 2, 3 black bubbles in that ovary. Those are 3 follicles with active egg growth.
And then you're ready for the doctor to suck the eggs out of the ovarian follicle with a needle through the vaginal wall.
You'll have your procedure.
Extraction of
retrieving the eggs.
Retrieval, harvesting.
They go to the embryologist to then freeze them.
And you label it like twice to make sure that you know whose eggs they
I'm pretty positive she has quite a few methods of labeling.
are. Okay.
Yeah.
Extend holds on to the eggs until you want them. But that's where they stop. They don't perform IVF. All you're guaranteed is a dozen frozen eggs.
The cutoff that we drew that we feel like is a reasonable place to be is that no one should be freezing fewer than about 12 eggs from a statistical point of view.
Because what is the success rate of IVF? Which you don't do IVF, but
Right.
what's the success rate of any
So,
average? I'm sure it varies widely.
Whatever number you put out is going to be the wrong number. And
Right.
what
But
I
just
mean
give me
by
a
that
number.
is, if you lump all of the IVF in the country, all cases, all reasons together in the US, it's about 35% of IVF attempts result in a pregnancy. But if you break that down by the main driver of success, which is age of the woman or age of the egg, women who try IVF who are younger than 35 will have typically about a 50% or more chance of success. Women who try IVF if they're 43 or older will have about a 5% chance of success or less.
Right.
So it's an enormous variable when it comes to age driving the likelihood of success.
Is this going to be something that eventually is less of a social justice equality issue when almost everyone can have access to it?
Right. I do think that to a certain degree it will continue in this direction, but do I think that it's ever going to be something we can deliver for $100? Probably not. There's a minimal standard that to do it with a high quality, you hit a barrier.
People told Steve Jobs he was crazy.
Not too many people call me crazy.
All right. How can you be that much lower than other places?
Because we're specialized.
Because you don't have other costs of other things
pretty much.
that you do. Like if you had a sore throat clinic or a
Sure.
gallbladder removal clinic. Because I've been trying to start a gallbladder removal clinic in Brooklyn for a while now, but nobody will let me touch them.
Okay.
Because they're like, you don't have experience removing gallbladders. But I'm
Okay.
like, how do you get experience?
Okay. Well, we actually have doctors who are experienced in egg retrievals.
Right. They've done a lot of them.
Yes.